Hey guys, we're back and ready to finish off Watcher's Keep. So we were continuing where we left off, which was the Machine of Lum level. There's quite a few rooms that we're going to need to go through. I end up using the swords to clear everything on this floor, and then we need to go to the Githyanki and the Illithid areas. But I would say overall this area is not that difficult compared to the last one, if only because we can always cast spells, and quite a few of the enemies are relatively straightforward at this point anyway. One thing I've noticed in the past is, when you upgrade the Flail of Ages to +4, after that point it doesn't seem to be able to kill trolls, because trolls are immune to poison damage, or at least the spirit trolls are. And for some reason it checks for the immunity and thus doesn't do the fire damage in order to kill them. I don't know why that is, but it is rather strange. It's not too big of a concern. I basically just brought out the fire tooth to kill them there. And also, the reason I picked up that non-magical weapon is there's a couple magic golems in here that cannot be hit by magical weapons at all. And don't even bother trying to hit them with magic in general. Of course, you can always just get the quest item here and run away, but I did decide to kill them.
It's probably best left to me. Give me some direction, out of concern. Hold still. I'm waiting. Still. This is worth it.
These are very strange enemies here with the mimics. We saw one of these in Umar Hills, but I don't even know how they're attacking me in general. But they did do fire damage, so I eventually throw up the protection from fire spell. The Githyanki area has quite a few low-level enemies, so Cloud Kill is actually effective on them. They also have a few anti-paladin enemies that are able to cast Dispel Magic, I believe. But otherwise, most of the enemies here aren't too threatening, I would say.
Yeah.
I think this last room has quite a few enemies, so I end up just hiding around the corner. Cloud Kill gets so much work done through the entirety of Baldur's Gate 2. Even in the Throne of Ball dungeons where there's still enemies that die to it immediately. And we come across the main guy here. I put out another Cloud Kill, but he goes down pretty easily. He also drops the longsword, Anger Vidal, yeah, that's it. It sets your strength to 22, which is okay. It needs to be upgraded before it does that permanently, but it's an okay longsword, but I wouldn't say that it's really worth it at this point. We also pick up quite a few materials we can use at Sespinar to upgrade items. The reason I'm buffing up with spell immunity is there's another Demi-Lich in here. He's still not very difficult, he just likes to spam imprisonment. The other fight here is going to be another dragon. This is pretty much a copy-paste of Furkrag, or at least very similar. So I decided to just use the easy way and use Improved Haste Time Stop. I could kill this guy up in a straight-up fight, but it's just a lot easier to do it this way, and quicker too. He won't start out hostile, so I didn't even need to kind of stay out of his range there. He will drop the Staff of the Ram, which is a very good quarterstaff if you want to use it.
It's done.
The next area we're going to be doing is the Illithid area. This one is rather short and not too many enemies, most of which are Umber Hulks once again. So I end up just spamming Cloud Kill a lot through this area just to insta-kill these guys. The Wander Cloud Kill gets so much usage if you just spam it all the time and recharge it. Of course you need to become immune to it if you don't want to just take damage from it yourself, but if you're careful you can use it in a party. Ideally along with something like Web to keep them in place. So I end up using protection from magical weapons here because I don't really want to instantly die to intelligence drain, and it just makes it so much easier. I think the container in that bottom room also has a maze or imprison trap on it, so keep that in mind. I decided to just not open it because the gear that it's probably going to have is just not going to be useful to me most likely. Which is why I'm skipping a lot of containers at this point, because it's really unnecessary for me. So we're going to open the room at the end here. This is going to be the pattern that you need to use. But what happens when I start doing it is a bunch of shadows come out. And I can't be bothered dealing with them, so I just use Sunray to kill most of them. The fight with the Minotaurs in this room is actually quite difficult, so I probably should have summoned something for this. But I decided to just use Improved Haste and Critical Strikes and see how that worked out. But I do lose my Stone Skin. I could have also used the other cast of Protection from Magical Weapons I had to become immune for 4 rounds. That's the thing about fighter mages, is they can do so much in 4 rounds that you can just become immune to melee with Protection from Magical Weapons and then just kill the difficult enemies, or you can time stop or do anything else. Protection from Magical Weapons is probably going to be the way that we take down Demogorgon.
What?
So as we come to the end of this area, you're going to see me put in all the codes for everything as part of the LUM machine. So I'm going to give you the option codes for them, so just the numbers of the options you need to pick. So the way to open the exit is 348. The way to get the Storm Star, which is the mace, is 863. The magic resistance boost is 956. And the stats are 782, 527, 941, 915, 123, and 746. So you can of course figure this out by looking at the notes for this level, but that's just kind of a basic guide to get everything that you want from there. So we make our way down to the last full level of Watcher's Keep. This is one that I don't find that difficult until the final seal battles, really, if you manage to get your way down here already. So I still have Improved Haste running, so I decided to take on the dragon that's down here, and our dragon fight, yeah. I decided not to use time stop this time because it's a bit lame. So I end up using Spell Immunity Abjuration because this guy does use spell magic, which I absolutely don't want to happen. But otherwise he's pretty much the same as the other dragons to this point. He puts up a few stone skins, but otherwise when we get through the defenses he dies very quickly. You also need the skull from this test, but you need to do this test anyway. And the next one we're going to do is the Perseverance test, which will have a bunch of orcs that will just spawn in continuously. I end up just using a planetar for this and just staying near the back.
Let's do this quick and pain. Hold still.
It's probably best left to me.
And the last trial we need to do is the Imps Conversation. So the answers to this is 7, and then when you do the game with them, you do 2, 3, and then you win after that.
Concern. I hope this is worth it.
I remember having trouble with these golems before, but I end up just using protection for magical weapons and make a potentially difficult fight into an incredibly easy one.
Time is up.
I leave the altar for now to do the other part while I've got improved haste still running. But this one is relatively straightforward anyway. It's just 4 simple fights that you need to do once. You can stay here and do them, I think, up to 4 times, but it's just for the experience, really.
Still. Scream. Scream for mercy. Hold still. Hold still. Hold still. Hold still.
And the last key that we need to get is through this altar. I'm not going to really go through and explain everything that I do here, just it's a fairly linear path, and if you go and do the same actions that I'm doing here, you'll clear it every time. And it's not that difficult to begin with anyway. After we're done with that, we need to do the final seal battles, which admittedly can be quite difficult. So I do this one on the right first, and I make sure that I cast Improved Haste. This one does take a bit longer because this mage over here that is my primary target does cast Time Stop to begin with. This guy does manage to hit me with a few cold spells because I don't have like protection from cold or anything like that, but ends up being relatively simple when he goes down. It's worth noting that you can't hit this guy with a +3 weapon, I believe. I think your weapon needs to be +4 or above. And unfortunately he does go invisible, but I just wait for him to reappear and take him out. The other enemies aren't too difficult, but I do take out the casters first. I'm now doing the Lich Seal battle. He isn't very difficult, but I forget that I've already used Sunray on Daystar. I think I pretty much interrupt everything he's doing, and he's not that difficult. The skulls also go down fairly quickly when I have Improved Haste up. And we come to do the final seal battle now. So one mistake that I do is I don't swap off Daystar. I should be swapping back to Cromfair at this point. But it's a fairly simple fight, and this is probably considered one of the more difficult fights in the series, is this final seal battle. But we absolutely stomp it with a planetar and time stop, and it ends up being just much easier than the last time I did this fight. I refresh Improved Haste as well, but we don't need any other spells, we just need time stop. I do buff up a little bit here though, but I think this was pretty much unnecessary. I think the biggest threats in this fight are the Hive Mother and one of the fighters that has Whirlwind attack. So those are the ones that I focus on. And I think I noticed at this point I'm still using Daystar, so I swap it over. Not doing as much damage as I could, but you'll see the fight is really easy despite that. I focus on the other fighter and she goes down pretty easily. I think the Planetar must have instant killed the Marleth or something like that and the other enemy because they went down extremely fast. So our main reward for this fight is the Gloves of Extraordinary Specialization, which will give us, in addition to the thing that our current gloves have, an extra half attack per round. That means that I could, and probably will, swap over to using Flail of Ages and Cromfair in my offhand. Or at least that's what I'm thinking for now. Moving on to the Demogorgon Fight, I am going to have to rearrange my spellbook a little bit. Mainly to take Improved Alacrity and a Black Blade of Disaster. Yes, we're actually going to make use of it. And I'm going to take an extra cast of Pierce Shield in order to bring his magic resistance down. I think he might be immune to lower resistance, so he might be immune to level 5 spells, I'm not sure. But you're going to see the particular strategy that I use. It's basically to kill him as quickly as possible in melee. I found that it's pretty reliable. So what I first do is I put up Stone Skin, or I refresh it, and I put up Spell Trap from the Staff of the Magi. I cast Blur Improved Invisibility, but I don't think they're actually that required. And then I summon up my Black Blade of Disaster and Improved Haste. one of the other things that I'll need, and you'll see the damage of the Black Blade of Disaster goes 28 to 50 with my current stats. Because Crumb Fair is in the offhand right now. You'll see me put on the Ring of Free action. The reason for that is Demogorgon casts Implosion, which will put you in a held status. You'll also notice how Black Blade of Disaster will give you Grand Mastery and Longswords. So I currently have 9 attacks per round instead of 8. And the last thing we're going to do before talking to him is Improved Alacrity. So the reason for this is, first of all, we want protection from magical weapons as soon as we fight him. Next, we want to cast Pierce Shield 3 times to bring his magic resist down. So the Maroliths are trying to hit me, but they can't, because protection from magical weapons. Then we hit him with a Breach. I use Critical Strike. I think he put up Stone Skin again, so I hit him with another Breach. Unfortunately, I need to wait until the next round to cast it. And then I pretty much just go to town on him. And he dies extremely quickly with the Black Blade of Disaster and Crumb Fair. I refresh protection from magical weapons. And he's down. And then I just clear up with the Maroliths. And they can't hit me because protection from magical weapons is still going. It was that easy. Now, one thing that I did forget about is I probably should have also cast Spell Immunity Conjuration, because he casts, I believe, some sort of deafness spell on you, which will cause you to have a, I think it's a 50% spellcasting failure rate. He didn't seem to cast it on me, but that was just something that I forgot about. So yeah, as long as you're protected and you kill him fairly quickly, he's not really that bad. Of course, you do need to protect yourself from his implosion spell, because if you get held, then you're dead. You're just dead. So I did need to put on the Ring of Free action. That was quite important. But yeah, we're pretty much done with Watcher's Keep there. I didn't get too much that we actually needed, but it was pretty entertaining seeing this character be able to do everything in that, including level 3, which I would consider probably the hardest part, just because you can't cast magic. And I mean, I could have used Hardiness and Critical Strikes and Greater Whirlwind attack a lot more in that level, and I just didn't. Which is something that I'm quite bad with. I have all these options and then I forget about them. So what we're going to be doing next is continuing on with Thronoball and heading to Yagashura's lair next. So I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you next time.
Nope. I see nothing more that matches with my recipes. No more shiny ones. Oh well, back to cleaning, I guess.